Scarlet Letter by Nathaniel Hawthorne. Imagine moving to a new city, and the first thing they do is give you a permanent nickname. Not a cute one like the new girl, but something closer to public disgrace now with embroidery. Welcome to 17th century Boston, where your mistakes don't just haunt you, they get stitched onto your clothes. We begin not with drama, but with paperwork. Yes, tax paperwork. Our unnamed narrator is working at the Salem Custom House, basically a government office where excitement goes to die. One day, while rummaging through old stuff in the attic, as one does when avoiding work, he discovers a manuscript and a beautifully embroidered Scarlet Letter A. And instead of saying, interesting, and going back to his job, he does what any bored employee would do. He turns it into a full-blown novel. That novel is what we're about to experience. Now the real story begins. We're in Puritan Boston, a place where morality is strict, judgment is public, and gossip travels faster than Wi-Fi. Enter Hester Prynne. She walks out of prison holding a baby, Pearl, in her arms. Already not a great start socially, but what really catches everyone's attention is the bright red letter A, embroidered on her chest. Not subtle, not removable, not negotiable. She's led to a scaffold in front of a crowd, where she's forced to stand and be publicly shamed for her crime. Adultery. And if you think that's bad, it gets worse. While standing there, exposed to the judgment of literally everyone, Hester spots a man in the crowd, her long-lost husband. Awkward doesn't even begin to cover it. This man is Roger Chillingworth. He was supposed to join her in Boston but never showed up. Now he's here, watching his wife stand trial for having a child with another man. Instead of storming the stage or causing a scene, Chillingworth does something much more unsettling. He pretends not to know her. Calm, calculated, dangerous. He learns from the crowd that Hester waited 2 years for her husband before committing adultery, resulting in Pearl and the Scarlet A. Now here's the big mystery. No one knows who the father is. And when the local Reverend, Arthur Dimmesdale, urges Hester to reveal the man's name, she refuses. Just like that, she seals her fate and protects someone else's. Back in prison, Chillingworth visits Hester, posing as a doctor. Because apparently in this town, you can just decide you're a physician. He confronts her and makes her promise never to reveal his true identity. And just like that, the stage is set. A secret husband, a hidden lover, and a woman caught in the middle, wearing the consequences on her chest. 3 years pass. Hester is released and moves to the outskirts of town, near the forest, because naturally society doesn't want her around, but still wants her sewing skills. She becomes a seamstress. Ironically, the same people who judge her are more than happy to wear her work. Hypocrisy? Absolutely. Meanwhile, Pearl grows up and becomes obsessed with the Scarlet Letter. She keeps asking what it means. Hester refuses to explain, which of course only makes Pearl more curious. Now let's talk about Dimmesdale. Reverend Arthur Dimmesdale is beloved, respected, spiritually admired, and slowly falling apart. He develops a mysterious heart condition. He's constantly in pain, emotionally and physically. And guess who steps in to help? Chillingworth. Because nothing says trustworthy doctor like a man secretly plotting revenge. Chillingworth moves in with Dimmesdale to care for him full-time. But he's not there to heal. He's there to investigate. And eventually, he discovers something chilling. Dimmesdale has carved a mark into his own chest. A mark that resembles Hester's Scarlet Letter. That's when Chillingworth knows. Dimmesdale is the father. From that moment on, Chillingworth becomes less of a man, and more of an obsession. He dedicates himself to tormenting Dimmesdale, psychologically, emotionally, relentlessly. And Dimmesdale? He collapses under the weight of guilt. He punishes himself, starving, whipping himself, suffering in silence. Because while Hester's sin is public, his is hidden. And somehow, that makes it worse. One night, in a moment of desperation, Dimmesdale climbs the same scaffold where Hester was shamed, but this time, it's empty. No crowd, no judgment, just him and his guilt. Then something strange happens. Hester and Pearl pass by, and join him. For a brief moment, they stand together, a broken family reunited in darkness, and above them a meteor streaks across the sky, forming a red A. Even the heavens seem to be getting involved now, and in the shadows, Chillingworth is watching, always watching. At this point, Hester realizes something has to change. She confronts Chillingworth and begs him to stop tormenting Dimmesdale. Chillingworth admits he's become cruel, but insists he's protecting Dimmesdale by keeping his secret, which is a very twisted version of helping. So Hester takes matters into her own hands. She meets Dimmesdale in the forest, a place free from society's rules. And there she tells him the truth. Chillingworth is her husband. You can imagine Dimmesdale's reaction. Betrayal, shock, panic, but also relief. Because finally, the truth is out. Together, Hester and Dimmesdale decide to escape, to leave Boston behind and start over in Europe with Pearl. A fresh start. No judgment, no scarlet letters. They plan to leave after Dimmesdale delivers an important sermon. Everything seems hopeful, and then comes the sermon. Dimmesdale stands before the crowd and delivers the greatest speech of his life. Powerful, moving, unforgettable. The crowd is in awe. But as he finishes, something shifts. He realizes he's dying, and suddenly, the plan to escape doesn't matter anymore. Instead, he walks to the scaffold one last time. He calls Hester and Pearl to join him, and in front of everyone, he confesses. He reveals his sin, and then he bares his chest. A scarlet letter, carved into his own skin. The truth, hidden for so long, finally exposed. And just like that, Dimmesdale dies. But not before Pearl kisses him, for the first time. A moment of connection, of forgiveness, of release. After this, everything begins to unravel. Hester and Pearl leave Boston. Chillingworth, having lost his purpose, withers away and dies within a year. Before dying, he leaves Pearl a fortune, because even villains have complicated endings. Pearl grows up, marries into wealth in Europe, and occasionally writes to her mother. And Hester? Years later, she returns to Boston. To the same small cabin, to the same life. And yes, she still wears the Scarlet Letter, but now it means something different. Not just shame, but strength, experience, identity. When she dies, she's buried beside Dimmesdale, and on their shared tombstone, a single letter, A, and that is the story of The Scarlet Letter by Nathaniel Hawthorne. Now, my thoughts. This isn't just a story about sin, it's a story about how people deal with it. Hester wears her punishment openly, and survives. Dimmesdale hides his, and it destroys him. And Chillingworth? He lets it consume him completely. The novel asks a brutal question. Is it worse to be judged by others, or by yourself? Also, the symbolism here is relentless. That letter A keeps changing meaning. Adultery, Abel, angel. It's like society keeps trying to define Hester, and she keeps quietly redefining herself. And honestly, Hester might be one of the strongest characters in literature. She doesn't run. She doesn't break. She adapts. As for Hawthorne, you can feel his obsession with guilt and morality in every page. The man really said, what if shame, but everywhere? If you enjoy character-driven stories, heavy symbolism, and emotional tension that just slowly tightens like a knot, this one delivers. It's not loud, it's not fast, but it lingers. And that Scarlet A, yeah, you don't forget it.